Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with jack-o'-lantern stuffed peppers. That's right, we've stuffed peppers and we've stuffed pumpkins, but we've never stuffed a pepper made to look like a pumpkin. And the great thing about this easy, fun, kid-friendly technique is that we can stuff pretty much anything we want inside, except for, of course, a candle. But besides that, pretty much anything's gonna work. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing we'll need are some of the biggest, most nicely shaped orange bell peppers you can find. And then on that pepper, we'll want to identify the largest face, the section with the most surface area in which to carve our facial orifices. And we'll do that exactly how we do a regular pumpkin, only on a smaller scale. So we'll take a small knife, and we'll make the classic 3-cut triangle eyes, as well as the classic 3-cut triangle nose. And personally, for the eyes, I like the triangles pointing down, and then the triangle of the nose pointing up, which I think looks more accurate and menacing. But for some reason, if you do an image search for this, 99% of the ones you're going to see have the triangles facing up for the eyes, which I do not understand. And I actually just added that to my list of things I do not understand, which is a really long list. And then for the mouth, I'm going to go with 3 teeth on the top and 2 teeth on the bottom. Or as they say in some parts, 3 tooths on the top and 2 tooths on the bottom. And that's it. Once we're done, it should look like a classic jack-o'-lantern, only much smaller. And then once we've finished our face holes, we will take our knife and cut all the way around the top so we can remove that seed pod. And then once we eventually get that removed, we can trim out any of that white membrane inside we want if we need to, as well as knock out any loose seeds. And that is pretty much it for pepper production. The only other thing we should do is trim that seed pod away from the top, because once these are stuffed, we'll go ahead and place that back over. So I went ahead and did 3 more just like that, at which point I placed them in this lightly oiled baking dish, which in a perfect world is big enough to just fit the peppers. And then once we have that set, we can move on to make our stuffing, which for me is going to start with some lean ground beef, which really shouldn't be lean ground beef, because those are not as good for stuffings. But we'll talk about that later. For now, we're going to season this up with some kosher salt, some freshly ground black pepper, and a few shakes of cayenne to scare away the evil spirits. I also added in a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, followed by some finely minced garlic, as well as some freshly and finely sliced green onions. And then because my beef was way too lean, I went ahead and added some melted butter, which I thought would help, and did a little bit. We'll also add a little bit of ketchup for sweetness and acidity. Plus, if you want a nice handful of cheddar cheese, which of course tastes good, but we'll also add a little bit extra fat as well. And 2 quick tips for the cheese. Try to, if you can, get it all in the bowl. And if you see a piece of plastic wrap, pull it out. And that's it. We will finish up with some kind of starchy filler, which for me is going to be some cooked rice, which of course is very traditional for stuffed peppers. And that's it. Once everything's in there, we'll go ahead and give it a mix with our hands, or the stirring utensil of your choice. At which point, once mixed, it's ready to stuff into our peppers. And by the way, just because I'm using rice doesn't mean you have to. Okay, you could use cooked quinoa or lentils or barley, or even breadcrumbs for like a meatloaf stuffed pepper. Oh yeah, that would be good. But anyway, the point is use what you want. I mean, you are after all the Ichabod crane. Of which grain? And speaking of headless horsemen, once our filling's been stuffed into each pepper as evenly as we can get it, we'll go ahead and place over the tops. And maybe the hardest part of this recipe is figuring out which top goes with which before I shot this scene took me about 10 minutes to figure out. So maybe when you cut those off, place them right next to the pepper they go to, so as to save a little bit of time. And then once those are set, I like to place those on a pan, because I'm going to loosely wrap this with foil, and I don't want the moisture that condenses on the foil to drip down to the bottom of my oven. So I'm going to play it safe with a pan underneath. And that's it. Our jack-o'-lantern stuffed peppers are now ready to transfer into the center of a 400-degree oven. Well, actually the upper center, because I forgot to move the rack. But anyway, we'll bake those for 1 hour, at which point I like to pull off the foil, and then give them another 10 to 15 minutes, or until those peppers are nice and tender, and they take on a little bit of color, and hopefully look like this. Which if you squint a little bit, and you've had a few glasses of hard cider, kind of sort of look like little jack-o'-lanterns. And yes, if I wasn't doing such a quick and easy version, I would have you reduce those cooking liquids in the dish and have you add those to the sauce also. So feel free to do that extra step if you want. And that's it. After taking a few contractually obligated pictures, I went ahead and transferred one on to a pool of blood, also known as a spicy tomato sauce. And that's it. My jack-o'-lantern stuffed pepper was ready to enjoy. So let me go ahead and take a fork and knife and slice off the face, and we'll see how I did. Which, as far as this quick and experimental stuffing goes, was just okay. Okay, it was tasty, it was good, but it wasn't fantastic. And I really do prefer fantastic. And a lot of that I blame on the lean beef. Right, for stuffings, we really do want some meat fat in there. But anyway, I decided to add some more sauce and keep on eating. And as I do, I'll remind you, this is a technique video, and what you should really do is use your favorite stuffed pepper filling, which hopefully is from one of the recipes we've already posted for that, since we really do have some amazing ones. But like I said, I was trying to experiment with a super fast, low maintenance, non-labor intensive filling that required no sauteing and very little effort. And what I ended up with was something that tasted like it. But anyway, I gave it a try and have no regrets. But I will say, if I did this all over again, I would actually use one of our meatloaf recipes, which I think might work out even better. But anyway, that's it, what we're calling jack-o'-lantern stuffed peppers. As I was putting this together, I actually did a search for why they're called jack-o'-lanterns, which is a great story, specifically an Irish myth. And while I won't spoil it for you, I will tell you the real moral of the story is that if you're out clubbing with the devil, definitely pay for your own drinks, so you don't end up like Stingy Jack and now have to wander the afterlife holding a pumpkin. But whether you've sold your soul or not, I really do hope you give this a try soon. So please follow the links below for the ingredient amounts, a printable written recipe, and much more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.